Laser buddy. Oh, these are new too. What? But now I can rotate all the way down. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to continue on this run, talking about persistence like we did last time, getting a little bit deeper into more so along the lines of getting back on track once you get derailed, much like this intro, and also checking out a continuation of this cool drill mod. Haven't seen it before last time I was playing, so it's really cool to see this new upgrade. It's pretty dope. I love it. It makes the way I mine way easier. Absolutely enjoyed it. And so with today, question of the day is going to be, have you ever started a project, habit, goal, routine, anything like that, and just got completely derailed? You had the best of intentions to absolutely crush it, but then just kind of got knocked off track. That's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Because anytime you embark on a long journey, much like digging this super deep mine, something's going to derail you, whether it be, life, or just small things. In fact, usually if you think about it, it's really the small things that get you. Something I like to equate it to, and actually kind of also ties in with the game, is, artillery shell. It goes miles, but it has a start point and an end point, and all the stuff that happens in between determines whether or not it hits its target or gets off track. And it's never anything big, like nothing's coming out of the sky and swiping it. It's the wind, rotation, all this other small factors. And so that's kind of what happens in life. So we're going to talk about that. And also I'm going to continue loving on this super drill device. It's quite awesome. Not much has changed since the last game. Only did a little bit of playing in between to get some cool thumbnail pictures. And hopefully adjust the sound. So hopefully the sound is way better this time. And hopefully I didn't overestimate and go on a totally different tangent of now the game being too loud, as opposed to my wonderful dulcet tones of my voice. You see, I got the double cannon upgrade. It's amazing. Hopefully the ambiance wind isn't too distracting. I think it should be good though. Also, really love all the recent updates I've had to this game. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. It's not even just like huge things like that. I know they've added a lot of bigger things like this drill. I think like some new places you can go to, but I think even just subtle things, like I think they've, since I've last played, added a little bit of more like not textures, but like detail, and definitely like more sounds. Everything just kind of feels more lively. I'm a little knickknacks too. So this one needs a water. So for all of those out there, I've always wondered, what is your favorite part of this game? For me, it's kind of a combination of the combat and also base building. I've always loved things like Terraria, Minecraft. Just to kind of do a thing, you get like a little sense of accomplishment from it. Ooh, what is that? This is also maybe kind of new. The concept of what that was isn't, you see the shape, put the circle in this circle hole, and then poof, something comes out. I wonder what this is. But yeah, back on why I absolutely love this game. I love simple games like this too. Ooh, this is neat. Okay, you got the one-way teleporter. A little personal teleporter for a one-way portal. Now, I've used this one before, and it is kind of handy to place a portal at the base. I think I like this better. I actually don't think I've done this one before. Take that. I think that'll be super duper helpful as we get going on and on. Now, I think I did pick the huge map, which is the map above large. Should be seeing some pretty interesting enemies as we go. Digging below. So that's kind of like my strategy with this thing. Is I'll have it dig one side of this, like one level, and I'll dig the level below that. Got the little kitty cat. Now let's go. Okay, got some mobs here. I'm probably gonna heal just a little. I got a good amount of the cobalt. Digging on down even deeper. Let's see, don't you just... this one's super cool because I feel like the drill bit, which is like a little critter you can get in a drill few, like this is way better than the drill bit in my opinion. I feel like it's more automated. I don't gotta worry about like waking it up. Now it doesn't seem like it goes super fast, but the fact that it really is kind of fire forget, and then you also have something that's just drilling straight down. Like I don't think you can't beat that. What is this? Maybe I need two things? This one's kind of new too. I guess I need two of the regular. Which bingo bango. Got a little bit of that. Ooh. Whoa. Oh. That's super cool. So that's also really new. I've never seen that before. It looks like it just like revealed the whole map to me. I don't know if it was a whole map or just a part of it. Drop weight. That'd be kind of cool too to have almost like I guess it'd be like in other games like an observation post where like you unlock it and it kind of reveals the area. I think that's a really cool addition to have to this game. Generally my strat for this is try to get economy as quick as possible, maxing out like weight capacity, fly speed, and drill speed. Usually I try to get drill speed more so than the other ones. Probably hop up here since we're about to have a wave. Because I feel like for the most part you can kind of through skill you know, handle the monsters. Capacity, that could be good. Extra deflection, that's a good one. Like you don't need to go too hard in the paint with upgrades right off the bat. I can't even imagine how many resources I have at the bottom of that. What is this? Find resources to move along the side, go towards the center. Oh, I'm getting that. Thank you very much. I got plenty of health. I'm ready to go. Max that out. I don't know what this flyer does. I think he's kind of new, but I have a feeling he's not going to be fun if he touches my base. Now, in terms of my strategy with the artillery base, I think I talked a little bit last time. Usually I kind of run between deciding if I want to do the double cannon or the more damage. I've done both. I kind of like the double cannon better. I feel like actually you get more DPS in terms of what's happening. So that's why I usually go for that one. Now back to the digging. So kind of getting back to the topic as well, as we're digging deeper and deeper, we can dig deeper and deeper into today's topic of getting off track. I think the biggest key to all of that is, one, identifying when you're off track. Because there's no point in knowing how to get on track if you don't know that you're off track to begin with. So like with most of my games that I'm playing, like most of the playthroughs, when I talk about it, it's always important to understand why. Why are you doing what you're doing? What's the purpose behind it? And purpose doesn't mean like, but I feel like most of society will tell you like purpose usually equates to making money or like success. But it's what do you define as success? So first you gotta know where you're at, and then you have to know where you're going. That's how you find out essentially where the track is. And so where you're at, we'll start actually there, and then we'll talk about the where you're going piece, because I have a couple other videos that cover why you're doing what you're doing. In fact, there's one of my first videos coming back that talked about why you're doing what you're doing. But starting off with like where you're at. So if you haven't ever taken time, I recommend, even when you listen to this video or any of the parts where it's kind of a little bit more gameplay and, just music, kind of the fun having the background. Maybe you take this time to identify where you're at. So what is the goal that you're trying to hit? What's that endpoint? What's that target? And where are you at in relation to it? Weight loss, always a super common one. I think it's super helpful too to talk about. That's a very simple one to figure out where you're at. Stand on a scale. There you go. If you don't like where you're at, drop weight. Speaking of which, thank goodness that's magnetic. If you don't like what the scale's saying, well then you at least know that you're, where you're at. But you don't know if you're off track if you don't know what you're trying to get to. So if you're trying to get to a certain weight, well then you know how far off track you are. Uh-oh. Glad I got that deflection upgrade. Health back real quick. Weight capacity. Get back down in there. So that's how you know where you're at first and foremost. Is I'm X amount of pounds, I'm trying to get this pounds. That's a very simple way to see if you're off track. But if you have something a little more complex, of like, hey, what I'm currently working on is, being a powerlifter. Well, where you're at isn't going to necessarily come from your weight, but it's going to come from the weight you lift. So how do you know where you're at? Start lifting weights. Try to get a couple 1 rep maxes. You kind of see, hey, this is where I'm at. And then even from here, if you start from where you're at, maybe you don't necessarily have a where you're trying to get to yet, you can say, hey, well, my 1 rep max for the bench press is 135. Okay, well, from there, where are you trying to get to? 325? 225? Well, you're trying to be biggest man in the gym? You're trying to do the most squats, trying to be fittest person out there? Then you got a long way to go. Or, instead of taking a super big goal, maybe take a smaller goal and go from there. Or if you're to know your goal and you know where you're at now, there you go. Now, I feel like the way I explained it makes it sound super simple. It's when you start getting into larger scale things, content creation, where you're at's a little bit different. I mean, you could look at another simple statistic of like, hey, where am I at? Well, how many subscribers I have. And that may or may not be accurate. What could be more accurate is what's my viewer retention. To that point, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who viewed my last video. My viewer retention went from 13 seconds to 9 minutes. So for me, that's a very good indicator that I'm on track with what I've been doing and some of the minor changes I've been making with editing and hopefully content and just quality overall. So it's really coming down to what are the metrics that you need to understand. And that might take skill set, some better understanding, a coach of some nature. Hopefully those monsters aren't just absolutely destroying me right now. Oop, oh, that one is. I'll just talk about Gilbert. No, thank you. I'll get the auto laser. That's going to be way more helpful. And I'm going to go ahead and place that. Get more health. And now that I got an operational laser, what is this one? Yep, that's automation. Want that. Faster speed for the laser. Faster cooldown rate. Get the cooldown rate for now. I went a little bit more heavy on the defense this round. The next 2 rounds I'll probably go heavier on the mining and whatnot. I can actually just hit him from right here. Looks like, yep. Alright, so that was a little rough. Gotta make sure to watch my monitor a little bit better. So you figure out where you're at. There we go to what's the endpoint, as we talked about earlier. Now find and define your endpoint pretty well. Now I want to talk about the endpoint or the target you're trying to hit in a little bit more detail than what I use, probably than what I usually, or maybe a new detail. And that detail is details. How specific is your target? So going back to my old knowledge base, having been in the military, artillery, how well do you know the target description? You know, where is it located? What altitude? All those other kind of fun things. Because if you don't know that, you don't necessarily know how to best aim. Oh, I can carry a lot now. And so, get detailed with your goal. Get detailed with what you're trying to achieve. For me, it took kind of detailing, like, what does success on a YouTube channel look like for me? And for me, success was always defined as what's going to be more impactful. So it might not necessarily always equate to views. It might equate to retention time. If I have, let's say, 1,000 views, which I know I will. That's coming soon. But the retention rate's at 10% and I'm not making shorts. That means there's an issue unless people are just getting something really good at that first 10 seconds. So what I'm looking for is more of that 9 minutes. So although my last video, I think at this point only got like 4 views so far, to go from 10-second retention to 9-minute retention, to me that means good stuff's happening and my actual target's being hit, which is impacting the lives and legacies of others. Hopefully people are watching it, getting something out of it. Doesn't have to be anything spectacular or miraculous, but at least something, whether it be maybe a little bit of entertainment, or maybe they're watching for the gameplay or having this in the background, which is kind of the goal, is this to be kind of fun, entertaining, maybe even something you keep in the background as you're doing something else. And every once in a while you hear like, oh, that's a good little tidbit right there. That's kind of the goal. So where I'm at, where I'm trying to get to, and then you look at what's the gap. Now I will say, with the gap, you got to mind the gap. You got to be extra careful not to fall in the gap, thinking too much about the gap. If you start getting a gap mindset, things I can tell you with decent certainty. If you start focusing on the gap, you'll start having a lack mindset. You'll start kind of just losing a little bit of it. You'll start not feeling whatever you're doing as much, especially like going back to like the gym. If you're like, okay, I'm benching over here 135, and I'm not hitting 225, even though I've only been benching for like 2 weeks. So, oh man, I'm just weak. That must be what it is. I'm just not doing. I'm just not good enough, or however else might. This is what I want. However else it might be. That'll eat away at you. So you only look at the delta just enough to say, hey, this is where I either need to readjust my target point or readjust what I'm doing, learn and grow and go from there. That's actually part of figuring out what you need to fine tune. Because the longer it takes you to reflect on what the delta is, and if you're on track, the bigger the change you may have to make, and that can be, a thing in and of itself. So it's always better to make little screwdriver tweaks rather than having to take a whole hammer to what you've been doing and just start all over from scratch. And we'll keep going on to this next battle. Now I'm prepared. And give me this time, got a little laser buddy. Oh, these are new too. What? But now I can rotate all the way down. It's good for me. Those things like bury themselves. That's kind of cool. Ain't gonna help though. Yeah, basically once you get the full rotation, that's when you're really like, I don't gotta worry about fighting for a long time. I can just focus purely on econ. This goes on deep. These is done, so let me... Bad boy. Oh. And I'm pretty sure there's some cool strat on like how to speedrun, like finding the final relic. I just kind of like doing this. I do enjoy just the digging aspect. It's kind of cool. It's fun and exciting for me. I don't know how many people out there also... Well, I mean, if you're watching this, I'm assuming you like just the concept of kind of satisfaction of watching this, getting like a little something done. Oh, there's a lot of it. So I guess that thing did... I don't know. Maybe it didn't. It did something with my vision. Maybe it gave me extra vision. I know what it seems like. I think usually you can only see like 1 block deep, and I can see 2 blocks deep. 1 and 2. Ooh, that's a lot. Get that cobalt. So now you can kind of tell as you're getting a little bit deeper, you need a quicker drill speed. Also, I've always loved the little dingly dangly you get when you have things to make different noises when they kind of like bounce around. I love that. It's just small things. It's small details. Oop. Got the cat. Don't remember that guy being so... Oh, the jumper dude. Oh, he's a beefy boy, ain't he? That's probably gonna explode, yep. Yeah, way easier when you can actually get the full rotation. But I'm gonna have to start looking at speed just because of how big the mine's starting to get. Alright, so you found out where you're at. You looked at where you're going. You briefly glanced at the delta. Then you reflect on, am I on track still? Have I gotten off track? A big one for me would be not necessarily dieting, but just kind of eating better. The one thing I personally work on is calorie consumption. You know, I do go to the gym a lot, you know, run, do all that kind of stuff. But man, you know, you can get some pretty good food at you know, around Austin where I'm at. So part of me making sure I'm staying on track is a couple of things. One of which is my actual pounds, how much I weigh, which I don't heavily adhere to because I understand, like, if I'm going to lift heavy, I'm going to be somewhat moderately heavy from just muscle. But I also know that I don't need to weigh 205 pounds plus to lift heavy, because I do lift decently heavy, and I'm under 200. Usually I aim for 190 minus. That's new. We will get back to that after I figure out what this thing is. Friend or foe? Just happened. I got more vision. I zoomed out more. I can see everything. But can I see why kids love Cinnamon Toast Crunch? I don't know if I don't like it because it's different, or if I like it because it kind of gives me a little bit more perspective. Perspective's always good. What's going on out there? I think I might actually have missed a couple of things. Check. Okay, and start heading back. Like all the little things I go to, that's super cool. At some point, I'm just going to fly straight down to the bottom and pick up God knows how many different kind of things are attached to the bottom. Now, if I get the elevator shaft, which just pulls stuff up to the top, that would be like the 1-2 of the economy, like just combo. Hello, cat. So back to the weight. So weight is one part. The other part is actually counting my calories every single day. Not necessarily judging what I'm eating, just are my calories matching up, and am I getting, you know, 180 plus grams of protein? Now, I'm not a fitness person. This isn't a fitness channel. Just giving you an example of checking out any tweaks I need to make. So if I notice my weight's starting to go up, you know, 191, 192, knees starting to hurt, which for me is a pretty big indicator of just kind of being a little too, like, just literally being too heavy. My amazingly fun body that the military had blessed me with. And I know I'm getting a little too heavy, so I know I'm off track. So my indicator to know I'm off track is actually pretty simple. I don't weigh myself often, but I don't need to because my knees will tell me if I'm weighing too much. My question is to you, what are you doing to check to see when you're falling off track so that you're not having to make some sort of critical life change, or what it seems like a critical life change, when you could have just kept it simple? You know, you could have just stayed on track or adjusted. So an example for me would be, hey, I notice I got a tendency to enjoy, let's say, Taco Bell after Lyft, because those geniuses there at Taco Bell put a franchise right next to the Gold's Gym I go to. And so, hey, sometimes it gets tempting. So if I notice my weight's going up, and I've also been eating more Taco Bell, I've now identified one of the things pulling me off track. I've identified the distraction. In that case, it would be a distraction. But it wouldn't have been possible had I not known where I was at, seen what I'm trying to get to, looked at the difference between it, and be like, hark, something's not working. It's probably the Taco Bell after working out. Now, I don't do it often because I catch myself, I'm like, not today. So that's just an example of that. So the question I posed earlier, and I'll pose it one more time, what are you doing and how often are you reflecting on, am I on track or off track? And if I am, how soon am I getting on track? Oop, don't like that guy. Let me start with going back, grabbing some of these things. Oh wow, that's a lot. Probably snag these, perfect. Start pulling everything else that I got. Getting kind of heavy. Sometimes you gotta shimmy things around. Like the little engine that could trying to get up here. Come on. You can do it. Persist. You got this. Then I can upgrade my carrying capacity. Probably actually go for speed first. I think this is pretty okay of a carrying capacity for now. A couple books also to shout out. Power Persistence, come on. Power Persistence, can't remember by who it's by. Outwitting the Devil is another book. By Napoleon Hill is pretty good. And then one I'm reading now is Zig Ziglar's See at the Top. It's another great book. And kind of a newer one. It's newer by Dan Sullivan. This one I'm reading. That's new for me. The Gain, Not the Gap. I had a lot to talk about in terms of not focusing too much on what you don't have, where you're not at, the things you're not yet. Focus on what you do have, what you're trying to get. And you know, one super big thing too. I think this piece is super big. I alluded to it briefly, but you know, goal setting and getting back on track and all that stuff. The trick isn't not getting off track ever. It's not a matter of if you're going to get off track. It's a matter of when you're going to get off track. And then the second part of that is how quickly will you realize that and how quickly will you take action. Realizing that you're off track isn't enough. You have to actually put forth the action to correct what you have going on that you need to fix. I'll fix this guy real quick. He's also new. Got a whole bunch of stuff going on. I don't want him touching me. He don't look good. Oops. Okay. Okay. It's getting spicy. Jokes on y'all. Got that. I think maybe I can get something from a laser. It's power. She's even faster. Okay. Spooky sounds. Back at it. Oh, that's probably not good. Chicanery. Alright, that was kind of spicy. Okay, so that's one of those indicators like, hey, I should probably get a little bit more for that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's not a matter of if you get off track, it's a win. And I think it's also important to kind of just take a moment and reflect, like, it's okay if you get off track. That doesn't mean give up your goal, doesn't mean stop trying to, you know, be a better version of you, a version of you that you want to be, of your own decision. You know, being that person that you've identified, like, hey, this is who I see myself being and who I really want to be. So it's okay if you get off track. Everyone gets off track. I've gotten off track many, many, many times. But I've also, you know, depending on what happened, I've also gotten back up, you know, put on my big boy pants, and kept moving. Made the adjustment I needed to make, you know. And it sucks. But at the end of it all, going back to it, getting after it, readjusting, relearning, regrowing, is depending on what threw you off. You know, you might have a little bit of healing in there too. And that's okay. Maybe you gotta change the goal, reset the goal. Maybe it's a goal that's not in your season yet, or that maybe you set that you weren't supposed to. All of that's okay, but as long as you get back on the track of the long term of things, the grand scheme of things, getting back on track then. And for me, that means not getting so beaten up, usually by myself. You know, being a little negative Nancy about myself, that I just stop progressing at all. You know, that's definitely not a place I want to be. And so, you know, it just comes down to, hey, acknowledging, this goes, I'm going to have to come back for that. Just acknowledging, hey, I got some stuff I got to work on. Got some stuff that needs fixing. Let's go back and let's get after it. So if you're out there right now and you're off track at something, whether it be a major goal in life, kicking a bad habit, anything like that, that's okay. You can do it. You can get back up. You can do your screwdriver tweak, and you can get after it. And you might be like, Matt, how do you know this? Well, it's because I believe in you. And I know you can do it. Just like I know I'm going to crush this wave. And now I absolutely have to, because if I don't, then it'll just be kind of awkward between the two of us. For that, I'm going to up my game a little bit. Up my game. Big explosions can't get, but I can't get one of those. Or shield. Right. Here we go. Oh, don't touch me. Boom. Dumb's getting a little beat up, but hey, we're still ticking and kicking like chicken licking. That's right. Awesome. Actually, this probably be about a good time to hang it up for now. So, thumbs up if you've gotten back on track with whatever you're working on, and put in the comments one of your successes from getting back on track. And hey, if you're off track, maybe that's a question to put in the comments. Maybe someone can answer. Maybe they can help you out, or just be like, hey, I'm a little off track right now, but I know I'm going to do it. So if you enjoyed this, you liked it, please check out some of my other videos. Hopefully this was inspirational. So go out there, be impactful, be loving, be getting back on track. Have a good one.